Critical Thinking Mastery, Unlocking the Power of Logic, Reason, and Decision-Making. Chapter 1. The Importance of Critical Thinking. Understanding critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to think clearly, rationally, and independently. It is not about being critical in a negative sense, but about analyzing situations, ideas, and arguments in an objective manner. When you think critically, you evaluate information from multiple perspectives, recognize biases, both your own and others, and construct well-reasoned conclusions based on evidence and logic. At its core, critical thinking involves a set of skills that allows you to navigate the world around you with clarity and confidence. It is a mindset that empowers you to evaluate complex information, question assumptions, solve problems, and make better decisions. Whether you're analyzing the validity of a news report, trying to understand a new concept, or making a personal decision, critical thinking is essential to making informed and effective choices. Why critical thinking is essential in a complex world. In today's rapidly changing world, information is more abundant than ever, and much of it is contradictory or misleading. We are constantly bombarded with facts, opinions, and emotions, all vying for our attention. Yet, much of the information we encounter, especially in the media, on social networks, or in public discourse, can be inaccurate, biased, or incomplete. This environment can create confusion and make decision-making difficult. How can you trust what you read online when even experts disagree? How do you make sense of conflicting opinions in the workplace or with friends and family? How can you make informed decisions when facing important life choices, from your career to your relationships to your health? Critical thinking is essential in such a complex world because it allows you to sift through the noise and identify what's important, accurate, and reliable. It helps you think independently, rather than relying on others to think for you. It enables you to differentiate between logical, well-supported arguments and weak or manipulative rhetoric. With critical thinking, you have the tools to make sense of the vast array of information around you and to arrive at conclusions that are grounded in reason and evidence. The costs of fuzzy thinking, missed opportunities and bad decisions. Without critical thinking, it is easy to fall into the trap of fuzzy thinking, where decisions are made impulsively, assumptions go unchallenged, and biases cloud our judgment. This kind of thinking can lead to poor decisions and missed opportunities. Consider the following real-life examples. Career decisions. Imagine you're offered a job that seems perfect on the surface. The salary is higher, the location is ideal, and the role aligns with your long-term goals. However, without applying critical thinking, you might overlook important details, such as the company's culture, the stability of the industry, or the work-life balance, that might be negatively impacted. By failing to critically assess the situation, you could find yourself stuck in a job that doesn't fulfill your needs or advance your goals. Financial decisions. How many times have we seen people make poor financial decisions based on flawed reasoning or emotional impulses? From impulse buying to ignoring risk factors in investment choices, the lack of critical thinking can lead to significant financial losses. People often buy into get-rich-quick schemes or invest in products because of persuasive marketing, without properly evaluating the risks or consequences. Personal relationships. In relationships, critical thinking can help you communicate effectively, resolve conflicts, and make decisions that lead to healthier, more fulfilling connections. Without critical thinking, misunderstandings, unchecked assumptions, and emotional reactions can lead to conflicts, resentment, and even broken relationships. Critical thinking helps you step back, analyze situations objectively, and make decisions that promote mutual respect and understanding. Political decisions. In the political sphere, decisions can be influenced by misleading arguments or emotional appeals. Voters often base decisions on slogans, sound bites, or political loyalty, rather than carefully evaluating policies, facts, or evidence. Without critical thinking, you risk being swayed by false promises or manipulative rhetoric, which can ultimately affect the direction of a society or even your own future. In all of these scenarios, the absence of critical thinking leads to mistakes, sometimes small, sometimes catastrophic. By contrast, when we engage in critical thinking, we are more likely to make informed decisions that lead to positive outcomes. Whether it's in our personal lives, our careers, or our interactions with others, the ability to think critically significantly reduces the risk of making bad decisions. Real-life examples of critical thinking in action. To better understand the impact of critical thinking, let's look at some real-world examples where it played a crucial role. Example 1. The Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962. One of the most high-stakes moments in modern history, the Cuban Missile Crisis, shows how critical thinking can prevent catastrophic outcomes. During the crisis, the U.S. discovered Soviet missiles in Cuba, putting both countries on the brink of nuclear war. The immediate response from many was to escalate the situation, launching airstrikes and potentially engaging in full-scale warfare. However, U.S. President John F. Kennedy, along with his advisors, used critical thinking to carefully assess the situation. Instead of reacting impulsively, they analyzed the available evidence, considered the potential consequences of each option, and sought alternative solutions. This led to a diplomatic resolution in which the U.S. agreed to remove its missiles from Turkey in exchange for the Soviet Union removing its missiles from Cuba. The crisis was diffused without violence, thanks to the careful, reasoned thinking of the key players involved. Example 2. The discovery of penicillin, 1928. In the world of science, critical thinking has often led to breakthrough discoveries. The discovery of penicillin by Alexander Fleming is a great example of how questioning assumptions and thinking critically can lead to transformative results. Fleming noticed a mold growing on a petri dish, and, instead of dismissing it, he critically examined its effects on bacteria. His thinking led to the development of penicillin, one of the most important antibiotics in modern medicine. If he had simply ignored the anomaly, the world would have been deprived of a powerful tool that has saved millions of lives. Example 3. Personal health choices. On a more personal level, critical thinking can be the difference between living a healthy life and falling victim to misinformation. For instance, the rise of fad diets and health trends often leads people to make decisions based on emotional appeals or the latest celebrity endorsements, rather than scientific evidence. A person who applies critical thinking to health choices might investigate the science behind these trends, consider long-term effects, and seek expert opinions before making decisions about diet and exercise. Developing a critical thinking mindset. Critical thinking is not just about having the right answers, it's about asking the right questions. It's about being open-minded, curious, and willing to challenge your own assumptions. By developing a critical thinking mindset, you can think independently. You no longer need to rely on others to tell you what to think. You develop the ability to analyze information, make connections, and form your own conclusions. Think objectively. You learn to separate emotions from facts and analyze situations from multiple angles. Think creatively. Critical thinking isn't just about solving problems, it's about looking for innovative, outside-the-box solutions to challenges. Communicate effectively. By thinking clearly, you can express yourself with precision, which helps in both personal and professional interactions. Become more persuasive. When you can back up your ideas with logic and evidence, you become more convincing and compelling in any discussion. Conclusion. The importance of critical thinking cannot be overstated. In a world that constantly challenges us with complex problems, misleading information, and persuasive arguments, being able to think clearly, logically, and rationally is the key to making smarter, more informed decisions. Whether it's in the realm of career, finances, relationships, or personal growth, critical thinking empowers you to make choices that are in your best interest and aligned with your goals. Throughout this book, we'll explore the tools and techniques you can use to develop and master your critical thinking abilities. From understanding the foundations of logic and argumentation to learning how to make better decisions and solve problems creatively, critical thinking mastery will provide you with the roadmap to becoming a more effective, confident, and successful thinker. The journey to mastering critical thinking starts here. Are you ready to transform the way you think and make decisions? Let's dive in. Chapter 2. The Foundations of Critical Thinking. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is the systematic process of analyzing, evaluating, and synthesizing information to make reasoned decisions. It involves more than just absorbing information or accepting things at face value. Rather, it is an active process that requires questioning, assessing, and reasoning through concepts and arguments. At its core, critical thinking means thinking for yourself in an intelligent, logical, and reflective manner. Critical thinking can be viewed as a set of skills and a way of thinking that allows you to process information, spot errors or inconsistencies, evaluate competing arguments, and draw conclusions based on sound reasoning. It goes beyond simply finding solutions. It's about the quality of your thinking and the way you approach problems, decisions, and questions. In everyday life, critical thinking is applied when we face complex issues, whether it's determining which investment is the smartest for your future, deciding the most reasonable course of action in your career, or making an important personal decision. When done effectively, it allows you to see through misinformation, avoid cognitive traps, and make choices that align with your values and goals. Key components: logic, reasoning, and evidence. Critical thinking can be broken down into several key components that work together to form a coherent and effective process. These components are logic, reasoning, and evidence. Let's explore each of these in more detail. Logic. Logic forms the backbone of critical thinking. It's the structure of thought that ensures arguments are valid and conclusions follow from premises in a coherent and consistent manner. Logical reasoning helps you avoid errors in thinking, such as contradictions, and enables you to build valid arguments. Logic is divided into two main branches: deductive and inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning. This involves making a conclusion based on general premises or facts. For example, if all humans are mortal, premise 1, and Socrates is a human, premise 2, then Socrates is mortal, conclusion. Deductive reasoning provides certainty when the premises are true. Inductive reasoning. This type of reasoning draws conclusions based on observations or patterns. For example, if every time you see a crow it is black, you might induce that all crows are black. However, inductive reasoning does not guarantee certainty, but it provides strong probabilities. Understanding how logic works helps you recognize whether an argument is valid, or if the conclusion is drawn from flawed premises. Reasoning. Reasoning is the mental process of drawing conclusions from evidence or premises. It's about forming judgments based on facts and making connections between different pieces of information. Reasoning can be deductive, as in the example above, or inductive, but it can also involve analogical reasoning, where you compare similar situations to make a judgment. The ability to reason effectively is crucial because it enables you to identify relationships between ideas, weigh evidence, and determine the most plausible explanation or solution to a problem. Good reasoning helps you spot inconsistencies, identify patterns, and consider all the factors before making decisions. Evidence. Evidence is the foundation upon which logical and reasoned arguments stand. Evidence can come in many forms: statistical data, expert testimony, personal experience, historical records, and empirical research. To think critically, you must assess the quality and relevance of the evidence presented to you. For instance, when making a decision about purchasing a product, you might look for reviews from experts or previous customers. The quality and reliability of those reviews will help guide your decision. Similarly, when evaluating an argument, it is important to consider whether the evidence provided supports the conclusion, or whether the evidence is being misrepresented or selectively presented. Critical thinking requires you to ask whether the evidence is relevant, sufficient, and credible. Is it based on facts or assumptions? Are there alternative explanations or competing pieces of evidence to consider? Effective reasoning doesn't just rely on the information at hand, it evaluates and interprets that information in the most rational and objective way possible. Distinguishing between facts and opinions. One of the most important skills in critical thinking is the ability to differentiate between facts and opinions. This distinction is fundamental because while facts are verifiable and objective, opinions are subjective and often based on personal beliefs or interpretations. Facts are statements that can be proven to be true or false. For example, water boils at 100 degrees C under normal atmospheric pressure is a fact. It can be measured and verified by anyone with the necessary tools. Opinions, on the other hand, are subjective judgments or beliefs that are influenced by personal feelings, experiences, or preferences. For example, chocolate ice cream is the best flavor, is an opinion. While this statement might be true for the person making it, it cannot be universally proven or disproven. The ability to distinguish between facts and opinions is crucial in the decision-making process. Often, opinions are presented in ways that may sound factual, especially in the media, advertising, or even in debates. By learning to identify these differences, you become better equipped to evaluate the information you encounter and determine its validity. When evaluating an argument, ask yourself, is the statement based on verifiable data, or is it someone's belief or viewpoint? What evidence supports this claim, and how credible is that evidence? Is the opinion being presented as a fact? This approach ensures that you make decisions based on reliable information, rather than allowing opinions to cloud your judgment. The role of curiosity in thinking clearly. Curiosity is an essential component of critical thinking. It is the desire to understand, explore, and ask questions. Without curiosity, there is little motivation to challenge assumptions, ask deeper questions, or explore multiple perspectives. A curious mindset encourages you to constantly ask, why, or how, about the world around you. For example, if you hear a new idea or piece of information, curiosity should lead you to ask questions like, what evidence supports this idea? Are there alternative viewpoints on this matter? How does this information fit with what I already know? Curiosity ensures that you don't simply accept things as they are presented to you. It drives you to seek deeper insights and broaden your understanding of complex issues. When you are curious, you're not afraid to admit when you don't know something, or to acknowledge that there may be more than one side to an argument. It also pushes you to be open to new information and ideas, rather than relying on existing beliefs and assumptions. Curiosity involves open-mindedness, being willing to consider and explore new ideas and evidence. Questioning, asking thoughtful questions to dig deeper into the subject matter. Intellectual humility, recognizing the limits of your knowledge and being open to learning. The power of questioning assumptions. Assumptions are beliefs or ideas that we accept as true without questioning them. They are often based on personal experience, cultural norms, or preconceived notions. However, assumptions can sometimes lead us astray because they are not based on verified facts or logic. In critical thinking, questioning assumptions is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal. By questioning assumptions, you challenge the status quo and consider alternatives that might not have been obvious at first. This doesn't mean rejecting all assumptions outright, but rather being aware of them and scrutinizing them when necessary. For example, if someone says, "This is the way things have always been done," a critical thinker might question why that is the case. Is it because it is the most effective method, or is it simply tradition? If you hear someone make a sweeping statement, such as, "All politicians are corrupt," critical thinking would prompt you to examine the evidence for this claim and consider whether it is true in every case, or if it is an oversimplified assumption. When you question assumptions, you open the door to new insights, new solutions, and new ways of thinking. It's about being skeptical in a constructive way, not just for the sake of argument, but to reach a deeper, more accurate understanding of the world. Conclusion. Mastering critical thinking begins with understanding its foundational components: logic, reasoning, evidence, curiosity, and questioning assumptions. These tools enable you to dissect complex information, identify biases, and arrive at sound, well-supported conclusions. By honing your ability to distinguish between facts and opinions, you become more adept at separating truth from fiction, and more equipped to make decisions based on rational thought. As you continue on your journey of mastering critical thinking, remember that it is not just about acquiring knowledge, but about developing a mindset, one that is open, inquisitive, and willing to challenge assumptions in pursuit of the best possible understanding of any situation. In the next chapter, we'll dive into how to build a strong logical framework examine common logical fallacies to avoid, and practice constructing solid arguments. This will give you the practical tools to put the principles of critical thinking into action, empowering you to think with clarity and precision in every area of your life. Chapter 3: Building a Strong Logical Framework. The basics of logic, propositions, premises, and conclusions. To master critical thinking, you need a solid understanding of logic, the foundation upon which all reasoning is built. Logic is the framework that helps us make sense of the world, evaluate arguments, and draw conclusions in a structured, coherent manner. At the core of logic are propositions, premises, and conclusions. 1. Propositions. A proposition is a declarative statement that can be either true or false. It is the building block of all logical reasoning. In other words, a proposition asserts something about the world that can be evaluated for its truth value. For example, the Earth orbits the Sun is a proposition because it is a statement that can be verified as true. When you encounter an argument, the propositions within that argument are essential to understanding the reasoning behind it. Each proposition supports or undermines the argument depending on its truth value. 2. Premises. In formal logic, a premise is a proposition that provides support or reasons for a conclusion. Premises are statements that offer evidence or reasons that lead to the conclusion of an argument. A well-constructed argument relies on premises that are true, relevant, and logically connected to the conclusion. For example, consider the following argument. Premise 1, all humans are mortal. Premise 2, Socrates is a human. Conclusion, therefore, Socrates is mortal. Here, the two premises support the conclusion. For the argument to be valid, both premises must be true, and the conclusion must logically follow from them. 3. Conclusions. A conclusion is the statement that follows logically from the premises. It is the end point of the reasoning process, the judgment or decision that results from evaluating the premises. The conclusion must be logically derived from the premises, meaning that if the premises are true, the conclusion must necessarily be true as well. In the example above, Socrates is mortal is the conclusion derived from the premises. The strength of the conclusion depends on the validity of the premises. If the premises are flawed, the conclusion may also be flawed. Common logical fallacies to avoid. Logical fallacies are errors in reasoning that undermine the validity of an argument. They can appear in everyday discussions, media, and even in academic settings. Recognizing these fallacies is essential for thinking critically and avoiding misleading or false conclusions. Below are some of the most common logical fallacies to be aware of. 1. Ad hominem. An ad hominem attack is when an argument is directed against the character or motive of the person making the argument, rather than addressing the argument itself. This fallacy distracts from the validity of the reasoning and attacks the individual. Example, you can't trust John's opinion on climate change because he didn't finish college. In this case, the attack is on John's educational background, rather than engaging with the actual arguments about climate change. 2. Straw man. A straw man fallacy occurs when someone distorts or oversimplifies another person's argument to make it easier to attack or refute. This misrepresentation undermines the original argument and avoids addressing the actual point. Example, Person A, we should reduce military spending to invest in healthcare. Person B, Person A wants to completely dismantle the military and leave us defenseless. In this case, Person B is misrepresenting Person A's argument to make it seem extreme and easy to counter. 3. False dichotomy, false dilemma. A false dichotomy occurs when an argument presents only two options, ignoring other possible alternatives. It forces the audience to choose between two extremes, when in reality there may be a spectrum of possibilities. Example, either we cut taxes drastically, or our economy will collapse. This presents an either-or scenario without considering the possibility of a more balanced tax policy that could benefit the economy. 4. Circular reasoning, begging the question. Circular reasoning occurs when the argument's conclusion is used as one of its premises. This type of reasoning is logically invalid because it doesn't provide any new support for the conclusion, it simply restates it. Example, the Bible is the Word of God because the Bible says so. Here, The conclusion, "The Bible is the Word of God," is used as evidence to support itself, which does not offer any independent reasoning. 5. Appeal to authority. An appeal to authority occurs when someone claims something is true simply because an authority figure or expert says so, without critically examining the actual evidence. While experts can offer valuable insights, they are not infallible. Example, drive. Smith says that this new treatment is the best, so it must be true. While Dr. Smith may be an expert, the claim should still be evaluated based on evidence, not simply authority. 6. Hasty generalization. A hasty generalization occurs when someone makes a broad generalization based on a small or unrepresentative sample of data. This fallacy is often the result of jumping to conclusions without sufficient evidence. Example, I met two people from France, and they were rude. All French people must be rude. This generalization is based on a small sample of people and does not consider the larger, more diverse population of French people. 7. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. This fallacy occurs when it is assumed that because one event follows another, the first event must have caused the second. This is a logical error because correlation does not necessarily imply causation. Example, ever since we hired that new employee, our sales have increased. Therefore, the new employee must be the reason for the increase. While the new employee's arrival may coincide with the increase in sales, this does not prove that the two events are causally linked. How to identify flaws in arguments. When analyzing arguments, you must develop a keen eye for spotting logical flaws. This process involves systematically assessing the premises, evaluating their truth and relevance, and determining whether the conclusion logically follows. Here are some tips for identifying flaws in arguments. Examine the premises. Are the premises true? Are they relevant to the conclusion? Are they supported by credible evidence? Check for logical fallacies. Are there any logical fallacies present, such as ad hominem attacks, straw man arguments, or false dichotomies? Is the argument making unjustified leaps in reasoning? Assess the conclusion. Does the conclusion logically follow from the premises? Is the reasoning sound and consistent? Consider alternative explanations. Are there other possible explanations or conclusions that could be drawn from the same set of premises? By asking these questions, you can critically evaluate the strength of an argument and identify potential flaws that undermine its validity. The art of constructing solid arguments. Constructing a strong argument is an essential skill in critical thinking. A solid argument is one in which the premises are true, relevant, and well supported by evidence, and the conclusion logically follows from them. Here's how to construct a compelling argument. State the claim clearly. Begin by clearly stating the position or claim that you are arguing for. This claim should be specific, concise, and assertive. Avoid vague or ambiguous statements. Present strong premises. Support your claim with well-reasoned and evidence-backed premises. Ensure that the premises are relevant to the conclusion and logically lead to it. Use credible evidence. Provide credible evidence to support each premise. This might include statistical data, expert opinions, or empirical research. Ensure that your sources are reliable and that the evidence directly supports your argument. Address potential objections. Acknowledge potential counterarguments or objections to your position and respond to them. This shows that you have considered alternative perspectives and strengthens your position. Draw a logical conclusion. Conclude by summarizing how the premises lead to your conclusion. Ensure that the conclusion follows logically from the premises and does not contain any unsupported leaps in reasoning. Maintain clarity and precision. Use clear and precise language throughout your argument. Avoid ambiguous terms or overcomplicated explanations. Your argument should be easy to follow and understand. Practice exercise, analyzing arguments and identifying fallacies. To reinforce your understanding of logical reasoning and common fallacies, try analyzing the following arguments. Identify any logical flaws and assess whether the conclusion logically follows from the premises. Argument 1. We should ban all junk food because it's unhealthy. People who eat junk food are likely to develop diseases, and we should protect the health of society. Question. What is the flaw in this argument? Argument 2. My grandmother smoked every day of her life and lived to be 92, so smoking can't be that bad for you. Question: what fallacy is being committed here? Argument 3. Either we increase funding for education, or our country's economy will collapse. It's a simple fact. Question: what is the fallacy in this argument? Through these exercises, you'll sharpen your ability to analyze arguments and identify flaws in reasoning, which is critical for strengthening your own thinking and decision-making. Conclusion: building a strong logical framework is the bedrock of critical thinking. By mastering the concepts of propositions, premises, and conclusions, avoiding logical fallacies, and learning how to construct sound arguments, you can think more clearly, make better decisions, and engage in more persuasive discussions. The more you practice these skills, the more adept you'll become at recognizing weak arguments and formulating strong ones. Chapter 4: Argumentation and Persuasion. In the art of critical thinking, it is not enough to simply evaluate and analyze arguments presented to you. You must also be able to construct your own persuasive arguments. Whether you are writing a paper, engaging in a debate, or making a business proposal, the ability to argue effectively is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal. This chapter will explore the structure of arguments, the role of rhetoric in persuasion, how to build convincing arguments with clarity and precision, and techniques for persuasive speaking and writing. Additionally, we will walk through a practice exercise that will help you hone these skills. Understanding the structure of arguments. At the core of any argument are its components: the claim, the evidence, premises, and the reasoning that connects them. To craft a persuasive argument, you need to ensure these components are solid and logically connected. Let's break them down. 1. Claim. Conclusion. A claim is the position you are taking in an argument. It is the statement you are trying to prove or justify. It is often referred to as the conclusion of the argument, and it should be clear and assertive. Without a well-defined claim, an argument lacks direction. For example, claim: social media is negatively impacting face-to-face communication skills in young adults. A good claim is specific, debatable, and focused. It should not be too broad or vague, but rather something that can be supported by evidence and reasoning. 2. Premises, evidence. Premises are the supporting statements or facts that provide evidence for the claim. The premises must be relevant, credible, and logically connected to the claim. If the premises are weak or unsubstantiated, the entire argument falls apart. For example, to support the claim that social media negatively impacts face-to-face communication, a premise might be: premise: studies have shown that individuals who spend more time on social media report feeling more isolated and less comfortable engaging in in-person interactions. Effective premises are based on reliable evidence, such as data, expert testimony, or real-world examples. They should not be opinion-based or speculative, unless they are clearly presented as such. 3. Reasoning, warrant. Reasoning is the logic or rationale that explains why the premises support the claim. It connects the evidence to the conclusion. Strong reasoning is critical because it shows how and why the premises lead to the conclusion. For example, reasoning: if increased time on social media correlates with increased feelings of isolation and reduced confidence in social settings, it follows that social media may be contributing to the decline in face-to-face communication skills. Good reasoning clarifies the relationship between premises and claim. It helps the audience understand how the evidence supports the conclusion, ensuring that the argument holds together logically. 4. Backing, support for the warrant. While the reasoning connects the premises to the claim, sometimes additional support is needed to justify the reasoning itself. This can come in the form of further evidence or explanation that strengthens the underlying logic of your argument. For example, backing: a study published by the American Psychological Association found that overuse of social media platforms leads to decreased social engagement in real-world settings. The backing reinforces the argument by providing further evidence for the logic behind your reasoning. It gives your audience more confidence in your argument. 5. Rebuttal, counterarguments. An essential part of any strong argument is the consideration of opposing views. Rebuttals are responses to potential objections or counterarguments. Acknowledging and addressing counterarguments demonstrates that you have thoughtfully considered multiple perspectives and strengthens your position by refuting alternative explanations. For example, counterargument: social media helps people stay connected with long-distance friends and family, so it cannot be that harmful to communication skills. Rebuttal. While social media can keep us connected, it often leads to superficial interactions that lack the depth and engagement of face-to-face communication, which is essential for building strong interpersonal skills. By including a rebuttal, you show that your argument is well-rounded and capable of standing up to scrutiny. The role of rhetoric in persuasion. While logic and evidence are the backbone of a good argument, rhetoric is the art of using language to persuade. Rhetoric is not about manipulating others, rather, it's about using the power of language to communicate your ideas effectively and engage your audience. Rhetorical strategies can help you present your arguments in a way that resonates with your audience, appeals to their emotions, and compels them to act. There are three main types of rhetorical appeals that you can use in your argumentation. 1. Ethos, appeal to credibility. Ethos is about establishing your credibility as a speaker or writer. It's important to demonstrate that you are trustworthy, knowledgeable, and competent. An argument from ethos persuades your audience by showing that you have the authority or expertise to make the claims you are making. For example, as a professor of communication studies with over 20 years of experience, I have seen firsthand how social media has affected interpersonal communication. To build ethos, you can draw on your own experience, cite reputable sources, and maintain a respectful tone. 2. Pathos, appeal to emotion. Pathos involves appealing to the emotions of your audience. While logic and reason are critical, emotions often drive people's decisions. If you can connect with your audience on an emotional level, they are more likely to be persuaded by your argument. However, be cautious not to rely solely on emotions. Pathos should complement, not replace, logical reasoning. For example, imagine a world where young adults feel more comfortable texting than talking face-to-face with others. This loss of social connection is detrimental to our society's ability to communicate effectively. Pathos can be used effectively by telling compelling stories, using vivid imagery, or highlighting the personal stakes of the issue at hand. 3. Logos, appeal to logic. Logos is the most straightforward appeal, relying on logic, facts, and reason. This is where your premises and evidence come into play. Logos persuades by presenting a well-reasoned argument backed by data and sound reasoning. For example, research from the University of California shows that people who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media are 40% more likely to report feeling socially isolated. To employ logos, make sure your argument is clear, structured, and based on strong evidence. Avoid using emotional appeals or personal attacks as substitutes for logical reasoning. How to build convincing arguments with clarity and precision. Building convincing arguments involves both careful planning and effective communication. To craft an argument that will resonate with your audience, follow these steps. 1. Be clear and specific. A clear argument is one that is easy to understand and follow. Avoid vague or convoluted language that may confuse your audience. Be specific in stating your claim, defining terms, and presenting evidence. Precision enhances your credibility and ensures your audience grasps the full weight of your argument. For example, instead of saying, "social media is bad," say, "excessive use of social media has been shown to reduce the quality of face-to-face interactions, leading to poorer communication skills among young adults." 2. Stay focused. A persuasive argument stays focused on its main claim and does not get sidetracked by unrelated points. Every premise, piece of evidence, and argument should contribute to proving or supporting your central claim. Avoid introducing too many tangential ideas that dilute the impact of your argument. 3. Use strong, credible evidence. Your premises must be grounded in reliable evidence. This could include data, expert opinions, research studies, and real-world examples. The stronger the evidence, the more convincing your argument will be. When citing evidence, ensure it is relevant and from credible sources. 4. Organize your argument. A well-structured argument helps your audience follow your reasoning. Begin with a clear introduction that presents your claim, followed by well-organized premises that support your claim, and with a conclusion that reinforces your argument and addresses any potential counterarguments. Techniques for persuasive speaking and writing. Effective communication is key to persuading others, whether you are delivering a speech or writing an essay. Here are some techniques that will enhance your persuasive speaking and writing. 1. Appeal to the audience's values. Identify your audience's values, beliefs, and interests, and align your argument with those. If you can show how your argument supports or resonates with your audience's worldview, they are more likely to be persuaded. 2. Use repetition for emphasis. Repetition is a powerful rhetorical tool. By repeating key points or phrases, you reinforce your argument and ensure that your audience remembers the most important aspects of your message. However, avoid over-repetition, which can make your argument sound redundant. 3. Incorporate rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions engage the audience and prompt them to think critically about the issue. These questions don't require an answer but instead encourage your audience to reflect on the implications of your argument. For example, if social media is improving communication, why are more young adults reporting feelings of isolation? 4. Create a strong conclusion. End your argument with a compelling conclusion that reinforces your claim. A good conclusion summarizes the key points of your argument and leaves the audience with a lasting impression. It should also include a call to action, encouraging your audience to think, feel, or act in a certain way. Practice exercise, constructing a persuasive argument. To practice building a persuasive argument, choose a topic that interests you, and follow these steps. State your claim clearly. Present at least 3 premises that support your claim. Provide reasoning that explains how the premises lead to your claim. Offer a rebuttal to a potential counterargument. Use rhetorical appeals, ethos, pathos, logos to strengthen your argument. Write or deliver your argument in a clear and organized manner. By practicing this exercise, you will improve your ability to construct convincing arguments and enhance your overall persuasive skills. Conclusion. Mastering the art of argumentation and persuasion is an essential component of critical thinking. Whether you are persuading others in a professional setting, defending your ideas in a debate, or simply expressing your views more effectively, the ability to construct sound arguments, support them with strong evidence, and present them with clarity and persuasion will significantly enhance your success in life. With practice and dedication, you will become adept at crafting arguments that are not only logical but also compelling and influential. Chapter 5. Navigating Cognitive Biases. Critical thinking is not just about sharpening our reasoning skills and structuring arguments, it's also about recognizing the inherent distortions in our thinking. Cognitive biases are mental shortcuts that often lead us to faulty reasoning, making it difficult to think clearly and make objective decisions. These biases shape our perceptions, judgments, and decisions, often without us realizing it. In this chapter, we will dive deep into understanding cognitive biases, how they affect our thinking, and practical strategies for overcoming them. By learning how to identify and mitigate these biases, you'll be able to think more objectively, make better decisions, and communicate more effectively. Understanding cognitive biases and how they influence thinking. Cognitive biases are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment, whereby inferences about other people and situations may be drawn in an illogical fashion. These biases are often based on prior experience, intuition, or emotional impulses, which can lead us astray. While they serve as mental shortcuts that allow us to process information quickly, they can also cause errors in judgment and lead to irrational decisions. The reason biases are so dangerous is that they operate unconsciously. We may not be aware that we're falling prey to them, yet they can significantly shape our perceptions and choices. Cognitive biases affect everything from the way we interpret information to how we interact with others, and even the decisions we make in critical situations. For example, if you are looking to hire someone for a job, and you have a halo effect bias, you might judge a candidate's entire suitability based on one positive trait, such as their appearance or the fact they attended a prestigious university. This bias prevents you from evaluating all relevant aspects of the candidate's qualifications. Identifying common cognitive biases. There are many types of cognitive biases, and understanding them is the first step toward mitigating their impact. Here are some of the most common and influential cognitive biases. 1. Confirmation bias. One of the most pervasive biases, confirmation bias, refers to the tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms our pre-existing beliefs or theories, while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. This bias can severely limit your ability to see issues from different perspectives. Example, if you already believe that a particular diet is effective, you may only seek out articles or research that support your viewpoint and dismiss those that suggest it might not be the best option. How to overcome it? Make a conscious effort to engage with information that challenges your viewpoints. Seek out diverse opinions and evidence, and approach any new data with curiosity rather than defensiveness. 2. Availability heuristic. The availability heuristic is when people assess the likelihood of an event based on how easily examples come to mind. This often leads to overestimating the frequency or probability of events that are more memorable or emotionally charged. Example, after watching news reports about airplane crashes, you might irrationally fear flying, even though statistically, it remains one of the safest modes of transportation. How to overcome it? To combat this bias, remind yourself to base judgments on statistics and objective data, rather than anecdotal or emotionally charged examples. This requires a focus on facts over personal or media-driven impressions. 3. Anchoring bias. The anchoring bias occurs when people rely too heavily on the first piece of information they encounter, the anchor, when making decisions, even if that information is irrelevant or arbitrary. Example, if you are negotiating a salary, and the first figure mentioned is $50,000, you might anchor on this number and perceive offers close to it, e.g. $52,000, as reasonable, even if the actual fair market value for the job is higher. How to overcome it? Be mindful of initial information and consciously adjust your decisions to reflect more relevant facts. Don't allow the first number or piece of data to dominate your thinking. 4. Sunk cost fallacy. This is the tendency to continue an endeavor once an investment in money, effort, or time has been made, even if the current situation indicates it's no longer beneficial. Example, continuing to watch a movie that you're not enjoying simply because you've already invested 30 minutes into it, rather than recognizing that the time is better spent elsewhere. How to overcome it? Focus on future outcomes rather than past investments. Recognize that the resources already spent are irrelevant to making the best decision moving forward. 5. Overconfidence bias. Overconfidence bias occurs when individuals have excessive confidence in their own abilities or knowledge, often overestimating their accuracy. Example, a person may be overly confident about their ability to pick winning stocks without sufficient research, believing they can predict market trends based on gut feeling. How to overcome it? Regularly assess and question your assumptions. Seek feedback from others and remain humble in your self-assessments to avoid falling into the trap of overconfidence. 6. Hindsight bias. After an event has occurred, we often believe that we knew it all along. This is hindsight bias. This can lead to overestimating the accuracy of our predictions and learning from them in a distorted way. Example, after a company fails, you might think, I knew it wouldn't work out, even if there was no clear indication of its failure beforehand. How to overcome it? To combat this bias, document your thoughts and predictions at the time of decision-making. By reviewing them later, you can see where your thinking may have been influenced by the outcome rather than the information at hand. 7. Fundamental attribution error. This bias refers to the tendency to attribute others' behavior to their character or personality, while attributing our own actions to external circumstances. Example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, you might think they are rude or inconsiderate. But if you cut someone off, you may justify it by blaming external factors, such as being late or distracted. How to overcome it? Be aware of the tendency to judge others harshly. Make an effort to consider situational factors that might be influencing their behavior, just as you would consider them for your own actions. Strategies for overcoming cognitive biases. Now that we've identified some of the most common cognitive biases, let's explore strategies to mitigate their effects. By recognizing these biases and taking deliberate steps to counteract them, you can become a more objective thinker. 1. Cultivate self-awareness. The first step in overcoming cognitive biases is to recognize that they exist and influence our thinking. Becoming aware of the biases that affect you most is the first step in minimizing their impact. Regular self-reflection is key. Action tip: keep a journal of your decisions and thought processes. Regularly review your choices and assess whether biases might have affected your judgment. 2. Seek out diverse perspectives. One effective way to counteract biases is to actively seek out alternative viewpoints. Engaging with diverse perspectives can help expose blind spots and force you to reconsider your assumptions. Action tip: when forming an opinion or making a decision, take time to consult with others, especially those who might have different experiences or viewpoints. This can help ensure that your judgment is not skewed by a limited perspective. 3. Rely on evidence and data. When making decisions, focus on empirical data and verifiable facts rather than intuition, gut feelings, or anecdotal evidence. This will help minimize biases like the availability heuristic or confirmation bias. Action tip: whenever possible, back your conclusions with data. Whether it's through research, statistics, or expert opinions, make sure your reasoning is grounded in objective, measurable information. 4. Practice slow thinking. Cognitive biases often occur because we rely on fast thinking, automatic, intuitive decisions based on minimal information. Slow thinking, a more deliberate, reflective, and analytical mode of thinking, helps counteract the impact of biases. Action tip: before making important decisions, take a step back and ask yourself, am I rushing to judgment here? Set aside time to reflect and analyze the situation carefully, considering all available evidence and possible outcomes. 5. Challenge your assumptions. Many biases arise from the assumptions we hold about the world, others, and ourselves. By questioning your assumptions and beliefs, you can reduce their influence on your decision-making process. Action tip: ask yourself, why do I believe this? What evidence supports this belief? What evidence contradicts it? This kind of questioning can help you move beyond automatic assumptions and make more reasoned choices. How to think objectively in the face of emotion. Our emotions often cloud our judgment, leading us to make biased or impulsive decisions. This is particularly true when we are in emotionally charged situations, such as when we are angry, scared, or excited. To think critically in such moments, it's crucial to develop emotional awareness and implement strategies for emotional regulation. 1. Pause before reacting. When you're emotionally triggered, take a moment to pause and breathe. This helps to ground you and prevent emotional impulses from taking over your reasoning. 2. Label your emotions. Recognizing and labeling your emotions helps you separate them from your thoughts. By acknowledging your emotional state, you can gain better control over it and prevent it from distorting your thinking. 3. Focus on facts. In emotional situations, return to objective facts. By focusing on what is known and verifiable, you can prevent emotional biases from overshadowing logical reasoning. Practice exercise, identifying and overcoming biases in real situations. To truly master the art of overcoming cognitive biases, practice is key. In this exercise, you'll reflect on real-world situations where you may have fallen victim to cognitive biases. After identifying the bias, practice applying the strategies we've discussed to mitigate it. Conclusion: cognitive biases are a natural part of human thinking, but they don't have to control the way we reason and make decisions. By learning to identify and mitigate these biases, you can sharpen your critical thinking skills, avoid errors in judgment, and approach problems with greater objectivity and clarity. Overcoming biases is a lifelong process, but the more you practice, the more skilled you will become at thinking critically and making informed, rational decisions. With this knowledge, you'll be well on your way to navigating the complexities of life with confidence and clarity. Chapter 6: The Art of Decision Making. Decision making is at the heart of every aspect aspect of our lives. From the most trivial choices, like what to eat for lunch, to the most consequential ones, such as buying a house or choosing a career path, every decision we make shapes our future. In today's complex world, where information is abundant and choices are overwhelming, making the right decision can feel like navigating a maze. That's why mastering the art of decision-making is crucial for anyone who seeks to live a purposeful, successful life. In this chapter, we will explore decision-making frameworks, techniques for evaluating risks and rewards, the role of emotions in decision-making, and strategies for making smarter choices. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a powerful toolkit for approaching decisions with confidence, clarity, and rationality. The decision-making process, from intuition to rationality. At the core of decision-making lies the delicate balance between intuition and rationality. Intuition often comes in the form of a gut feeling, or an immediate, instinctive response to a situation. It's fast and unconscious, shaped by past experiences, knowledge, and emotional responses. Rationality, on the other hand, involves deliberate thought, careful analysis, and logical reasoning. It's slow and conscious, requiring us to weigh evidence, consider alternatives, and make informed choices. Both intuition and rationality have their strengths and weaknesses. Intuition can be incredibly useful when making decisions under pressure or in familiar situations. However, it can also lead to cognitive biases or snap judgments that are not always accurate. Rational decision-making, while more deliberate, can sometimes be paralyzed by overthinking, indecision, or analysis paralysis. The key to effective decision-making lies in integrating both, learning when to trust your instincts and when to rely on reasoned analysis. 1. Intuition in decision-making, the power of experience. Intuition is often considered a shortcut for decision-making. It's the ability to make decisions quickly without needing to go through a full analysis. It draws on your experiential knowledge, memories, and automatic associations. For instance, a seasoned doctor can often diagnose a condition based on a few symptoms almost instantly, even before conducting a full test. However, intuition is best used in situations where you have expertise or prior experience. For instance, an experienced driver might intuitively know how to react in a sudden emergency on the road. But when we're faced with situations outside our expertise, intuition can be misleading and lead us to make decisions based on faulty assumptions or incomplete data. How to leverage intuition. Trust your intuition when you have relevant experience or have encountered similar situations before. Pause and reflect if you're about to make a decision based purely on a gut feeling. Does the feeling match up with what you know? Are you making the choice based on incomplete or biased information? Use intuition to initiate decisions in situations with time constraints or limited information, then back it up with more rational analysis when possible. 2. Rational decision-making, slow, methodical, and thorough. Rational decision-making, while slower, allows you to approach problems in a structured, logical way. It involves breaking down complex decisions into smaller, more manageable components, analyzing each one, and then synthesizing the information to come to the best conclusion. This type of decision-making is best when you need to analyze alternatives, understand the long-term consequences of your actions, or when there's a lot at stake, such as a career move or an investment decision. Rational decision-making allows you to consciously evaluate pros and cons, weigh risks and rewards, and make decisions based on data rather than emotion or assumption. How to implement rational decision-making. Gather all relevant information before making a decision. This includes both qualitative and quantitative data. Consider alternative courses of action and evaluate their potential outcomes. Break down the decision into smaller components and analyze each aspect in detail. For example, if deciding on a new job, analyze salary, benefits, growth potential, work-life balance, and location. Make use of decision-making frameworks, discussed later in this chapter, to help structure your decision-making process. 3. When to use intuition versus rationality. The best decision makers know when to combine intuition with rational analysis. For instance, when making a decision under time pressure, you might rely on your gut instinct to make an initial choice, and then double-check it with a quick rational analysis. Alternatively, when you have ample time and resources, you may choose to lean more heavily on rational analysis, taking the time to explore all possibilities and weigh the evidence. As you grow more experienced, you'll become better at determining which mode, intuitive or rational, is best suited to the situation at hand. How to weigh risks and rewards. One of the core components of decision-making is evaluating risks and rewards. Every decision carries a level of risk, whether it's financial, emotional, or physical. And every decision has a potential reward, which may be tangible or intangible. Understanding how to evaluate these two factors can help you make more informed and balanced decisions. 1. Understanding risk versus reward. Risk is the possibility of a negative outcome. It can manifest as loss, failure, or missed opportunities. For instance, investing in the stock market carries the risk of losing money, but it also presents the potential for substantial financial gains. Understanding and quantifying risk is crucial to making rational decisions. Reward is the potential for gain, whether it's financial, emotional, personal, or professional. The reward might be immediate, such as winning a prize or receiving a promotion, or delayed, such as building a successful career or achieving long-term financial security. Key considerations in weighing risk and reward. Risk tolerance. Understand your personal level of risk tolerance. Some individuals thrive on risk and may be willing to take greater chances for a bigger reward, while others may prefer more conservative choices. Assess your comfort level with risk before making any decision. Expected value. The expected value is the potential outcome of a decision weighted by its probability. For example, if you have a 50% chance of winning $100 and a 50% chance of losing $50, your expected value is $25. Rational decision-making involves calculating expected values and determining whether the reward justifies the risk. 2. Evaluating probabilities and consequences. Not all risks are created equal. A decision with a high potential reward might still be too risky if the likelihood of failure is high. Conversely, a decision with moderate rewards might be worth taking if the risk is minimal. To make better decisions, try to quantify both the probability of outcomes and the consequences of those outcomes. Decision matrix. A decision matrix is a tool that helps you evaluate different options based on a set of predefined criteria. By scoring each option based on factors like risk, reward, feasibility, and impact, you can more objectively compare them and make a better decision. The role of emotions in decision-making. Emotions are powerful forces that influence decision-making, often unconsciously. While it's tempting to think of emotions as irrational or counterproductive, they can play a crucial role in guiding us toward values, preferences, and choices that align with our deeper desires and goals. However, when emotions are allowed to dominate, they can lead us to make poor decisions driven by impulse or fear. 1. Understanding emotional influence. Our emotions often color our perception of a situation. For instance, fear can make us overly cautious, leading us to avoid beneficial opportunities, while excitement can cloud our judgment and make us overlook risks. Anger might lead to rash decisions, while guilt can cause us to make choices out of obligation rather than reason. Emotional traps in decision-making. Loss aversion. The fear of loss is often more powerful than the desire for gain. This can lead to overly conservative choices or reluctance to take calculated risks. Over-optimism. In some cases, strong positive emotions can lead us to overestimate the likelihood of success or the rewards of a decision, downplaying the associated risks. 2. Balancing emotion and reason. The key to effective decision-making is to acknowledge your emotions, but not let them dictate the course of action. Instead of allowing emotions to drive impulsive decisions, take the time to reflect and pause before making choices. Ask yourself, what are the emotions influencing my decision? Are these emotions actions based on facts or assumptions. How might this decision affect me in the long term? Strategies for managing emotions in decision-making. Mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness helps you become aware of your emotional state and how it might be influencing your thinking. This awareness gives you the opportunity to slow down and make decisions more rationally. Cognitive reframing. If you find yourself overwhelmed by negative emotions, like fear or anxiety, try to reframe the situation in a positive light. For example, instead of focusing on the risk of failure, think about what you stand to gain. Take breaks. If you're in a highly emotional state, it may be beneficial to step away from the decision-making process for a while. Allow yourself time to cool down, regain perspective, and approach the decision with a clearer mind. Tools for making smarter choices. As you build your decision-making skills, there are several tools and frameworks that can help structure your approach and guide you toward better outcomes. These tools provide a systematic way to analyze choices, reduce biases, and assess potential risks and rewards. 1. SWOT analysis. A popular tool for making business and career decisions. SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Analysis helps you identify both internal and external factors that could affect your decision. It's a great way to ensure that you're considering all angles before making a choice. 2. Decision trees. A decision tree is a graphical representation of different choices and their possible consequences. By visually mapping out all the possible outcomes, you can better understand the paths that lead to different results and assess their probability and impact. 3. Cost-benefit analysis. In this tool, you compare the costs, monetary or otherwise, and benefits of each decision to determine which option offers the most favorable balance. This is particularly useful when making financial decisions or evaluating trade-offs between different choices. Practice exercise, making complex decisions with confidence. To help you apply the concepts discussed in this chapter, here's an exercise to put your decision-making skills into practice. Think about a current decision you're facing, whether personal, professional, or financial. Apply the tools and frameworks we've discussed to help you make the best choice. Conclusion. Decision-making is a critical skill that can be mastered with practice and reflection. By understanding the balance between intuition and rationality, learning to weigh risks and rewards, managing emotions, and utilizing decision-making frameworks, you can make smarter, more confident choices in every area of your life. Remember, every decision is an opportunity for growth, learning, and improving your critical thinking skills. As you continue to refine your decision-making process, you'll become more adept at navigating life's complexities and making choices that align with your goals and values. Chapter 7. Problem Solving and Creative Thinking. In our daily lives, we are constantly faced with problems, big and small. Whether it's a workplace challenge, a personal dilemma, or a complex societal issue, problem solving is a skill that everyone must master. But problem solving isn't just about finding a quick fix, it's about approaching a situation with clear reasoning, creative insights, and the ability to think critically. Moreover, in today's fast-paced, innovation-driven world, the ability to think creatively can be just as important as logical reasoning. In this chapter, we will explore the steps involved in effective problem solving, techniques for generating creative solutions, and the role that critical thinking plays in both. Additionally, we'll look at how to overcome mental blocks, find fresh perspectives, and apply problem-solving methods to complex and ambiguous situations. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a deeper understanding of how to tackle problems efficiently, think outside the box, and approach challenges with the mindset of a true innovator. The problem-solving process. Define, analyze, and solve. The process of solving a problem can often be broken down into 3 distinct phases: define, analyze, and solve. While these steps may seem intuitive, many people fail to follow them systematically, often jumping to conclusions or making decisions before fully understanding the problem. By adhering to these phases, you can approach problems with clarity and structure, reducing the risk of mistakes and coming up with more effective solutions. 1. Define the problem. The first step in any problem-solving process is to define the problem clearly and precisely. Without a well-defined problem, any solution you come up with is likely to be misguided or ineffective. A clear problem definition acts as a guide to help you stay focused and ensure that you're addressing the right issue. To define a problem accurately, state the problem in specific terms, avoid vague or overly general statements. Instead of saying, "I have a problem at work," say, "I am not able to meet my project deadlines due to miscommunication with my team." Identify the root cause. Often, what appears to be the problem is just a symptom. Dig deeper to understand the underlying cause. For example, if a team is missing deadlines, the real problem may be poor project management or unclear expectations, rather than just disorganization. Clarify the desired outcome. What does success look like? Defining the desired outcome helps you know when the problem has been solved. For example, your desired outcome could be timely completion of all project tasks with clear communication between all team members. Be objective when defining the problem. Avoid letting emotions cloud your judgment. Stick to the facts and try to see the situation from an unbiased perspective. 2. Analyze the problem. Once you've defined the problem, the next step is to analyze it. This is where critical thinking and data gathering come into play. You must dig into the details, understand the variables at play, and identify patterns or factors that may be contributing to the issue. Key strategies for analyzing a problem include: gather relevant information. The more information you have, the better your analysis will be. This can include quantitative data, qualitative feedback, historical context, or expert advice. Break the problem down. A large problem can feel overwhelming. Break it into smaller, more manageable pieces. For example, if your goal is to improve your health, break it down into categories such as exercise, nutrition, mental health, and sleep. Ask key questions. Use the 5 whys technique, where you ask why 5 times to get to the root cause of the problem. For example, why are deadlines being missed? Poor time management. Why is time management poor? Lack of clear priorities. Why is there a lack of clear priorities? Miscommunication within the team. Why is there miscommunication? No structured communication system. Why is there no structured communication system? Lack of a clear project management process. Map the problem. Create a visual representation of the problem, such as a fishbone diagram, Ishikawa diagram, or a flowchart. This helps you to see the relationship between different factors and gives you a clearer picture of the problem. 3. Solve the problem. After thoroughly analyzing the problem, it's time to start thinking about solutions. This is where creative thinking and the application of critical thinking tools come into play. The goal is to come up with solutions that are not only feasible but also innovative and effective. Effective problem solving involves generating multiple solutions. Avoid rushing to the first solution that comes to mind. Instead, brainstorm a range of possible solutions. The more ideas you generate, the more likely you are to find an optimal solution. Evaluating each solution. Once you've generated several solutions, evaluate each one based on criteria like feasibility, cost, impact, and long-term sustainability. Consider both the pros and cons of each potential solution. Selecting the best solution. After evaluating your options, choose the solution that best addresses the root cause of the problem while aligning with your desired outcome. Make sure you also consider the potential risks and how to mitigate them. Implementing the solution. Once a solution is chosen, it's time to implement it. This requires planning and coordination. Develop a step-by-step action plan, assign tasks, and set deadlines. Make sure all stakeholders are on board and understand the process. Techniques for generating creative solutions. Creative thinking is an essential part of problem solving. Sometimes, the best solutions to problems are not immediately obvious and require a burst of creativity to uncover. While critical thinking is necessary to evaluate the effectiveness of solutions, creativity allows us to think outside the box and generate new ideas. Here are some techniques to help you unlock your creativity. 1. Brainstorming. Brainstorming is a well-known technique where you generate as many ideas as possible without judgment. During a brainstorming session, The goal is quantity over quality. The more ideas you have, the better chance you have of finding a viable solution. Rules for brainstorming: no idea is too outlandish. Encourage wild, unconventional thoughts. Build on others' ideas. Often, one idea can lead to another and spark new possibilities. Avoid criticizing ideas during the session. This will stifle creativity. Once you have a list of ideas, you can then filter and evaluate them based on feasibility and effectiveness. 2. Mind mapping. Mind mapping is a visual tool that helps organize your thoughts. Start with the central problem in the middle of the page. Then branch out with possible solutions, ideas, or related factors. This technique allows you to see connections between ideas and can help uncover creative solutions that might not be obvious at first glance. 3. Lateral thinking. Lateral thinking, coined by Edward de Bono, is a creative problem-solving technique that encourages thinking in unconventional ways. Instead of approaching a problem directly, lateral thinking pushes you to consider alternative routes, patterns, or solutions that are outside the box. One famous example of lateral thinking is the matchstick problem, where participants are asked to rearrange matchsticks to form a given shape. The goal is to encourage thinking beyond traditional constraints. 4. The scamper technique. Scamper is an acronym that helps you look at a problem from different angles. It stands for substitute. What can you substitute in the current process or situation? Combine. Can you combine two ideas or solutions to create a better one? Adapt. Can you adapt a solution or approach from another field or discipline? Modify. Can you modify or alter something to improve it? Put to another use. Can you find another use for an existing solution or idea? Eliminate. What can you eliminate to simplify the problem or solution? Reverse. Can you reverse the process or approach to find a new solution? This technique pushes your thinking by encouraging you to explore different facets of a problem and identify novel solutions. 5. Reverse engineering. Reverse engineering involves deconstructing a solution or process that already works in order to understand how it functions. By breaking it down, you can apply the same principles to your own problem. This technique works well when you are faced with complex challenges and want to understand the components that make up a successful outcome. The role of critical thinking in innovation and creativity. While creative thinking is essential for generating new ideas, critical thinking plays a vital role in shaping those ideas into effective solutions. Critical thinking helps you evaluate the practicality, feasibility, and consequences of your creative ideas. It ensures that your solutions are not just novel but also functional and sustainable. Critical thinking helps in creativity by ensuring ideas are grounded in reality, testing ideas against established criteria and constraints, encouraging you to look at all angles and consider potential risks or flaws in a solution, providing tools for analyzing and improving ideas until they are ready for implementation. In essence, critical thinking filters and refines the raw material created by creative thinking, ensuring that your ideas are both innovative and practical. How to overcome mental blocks and find fresh perspectives. Even the most seasoned problem solvers face mental blocks from time to time. These blocks can arise from overthinking, stress, or the inability to see a problem from a new perspective. Here are some strategies for breaking through these barriers and finding fresh insights. 1. Take a break. Sometimes, stepping away from the problem is the best way to find a solution. Give your brain time to reset and come back to the problem with fresh eyes. Even a short walk or a change of scenery can trigger new ideas. 2. Seek outside input. Getting a new perspective is often the key to overcoming mental blocks. Seek input from others, especially those with different backgrounds or areas of expertise. They may offer insights you haven't considered. 3. Use constraints. Ironically, imposing certain constraints or limitations can sometimes boost creativity. For example, limit yourself to a specific budget or time frame, or force yourself to solve the problem using only certain resources. Constraints can drive innovative solutions by pushing you to think more strategically. 4. Think in reverse. Instead of asking, "How can I solve this problem?" try asking, How could I make this problem worse? This reverse thinking can sometimes reveal new solutions by helping you see the issue from a completely different angle. Practice exercise, solving a complex problem using critical thinking. To apply the concepts learned in this chapter, choose a real-world problem that you are currently facing. Use the define, analyze, solve process, integrate creative thinking techniques, and apply critical thinking to evaluate potential solutions. Document your progress and reflect on your decision-making process. The goal is to practice applying these strategies to real situations, which will make them second nature over time. Conclusion: problem solving and creative thinking are indispensable tools in both personal and professional life. By following a structured problem-solving process, employing creative techniques to generate solutions, and leveraging critical thinking to evaluate and refine those solutions, you can tackle any challenge that comes your way. As you practice and apply these skills regularly, you'll find that complex problems become more manageable, and innovative solutions become more achievable. Remember, each problem solved is an opportunity to sharpen your thinking and move closer to mastery in all areas of life. Chapter 8: Thinking Critically in Personal Relationships. When it comes to personal relationships, whether with family, friends, partners, or colleagues, the ability to think critically is just as important as emotional intelligence. It enables you to communicate more effectively, make better decisions, and navigate conflicts with clarity and empathy. Critical thinking can help you recognize manipulative behaviors, challenge false assumptions, and foster stronger, healthier relationships built on understanding and respect. This chapter will explore how critical thinking applies to personal relationships. You'll learn how to apply logic and reasoning to communication, recognize and resist manipulation, make better decisions in relationships, and resolve conflicts calmly and rationally. By integrating critical thinking into your interactions, you will strengthen your ability to connect with others, solve relationship problems, and create more meaningful connections. Applying critical thinking to communication. Communication is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship. However, it's often far more complex than simply exchanging words. Misunderstandings, assumptions, and emotional biases can lead to confusion, frustration, and even conflict. Critical thinking allows you to process communication more carefully, listen actively, and respond thoughtfully. Instead of reacting impulsively or passively accepting what others say, you can evaluate statements for their truth, relevance, and underlying assumptions. 1. Active listening. Critical thinking in communication begins with active listening, a skill that goes beyond simply hearing words. Active listening means fully engaging with the speaker, giving them your undivided attention, and trying to understand their perspective without rushing to judgment. This process involves avoiding interruptions. Give the other person time to express their thoughts fully before jumping in with your response. Paraphrasing and summarizing. Reflecting what the speaker says back to them can confirm understanding. For example, so what I'm hearing is that you're feeling frustrated because you don't feel heard in this situation. Asking clarifying questions. When you don't fully understand something, ask questions to clear up any ambiguity. Can you explain a bit more about what you mean when you say you feel overwhelmed? Noticing nonverbal cues. Pay attention to tone, body language, and facial expressions. These elements can offer critical insights into the true meaning behind words. By using active listening, you can gain a deeper understanding of the person you're communicating with and avoid misunderstandings that can arise from misinterpreting their words or intentions. 2. Evaluating statements and arguments. Critical thinking also involves evaluating the content of communication. This goes beyond agreeing or disagreeing based on feelings or surface-level impressions. Instead, you should assess the evidence. Does the person provide adequate reasoning or evidence to support their claim? The logic. Are the ideas presented logically consistent, or do they contradict one another? Are there assumptions that need to be questioned? The relevance. Are the points being raised relevant to the issue at hand, or are they distractions? The emotions involved. Are emotions being used to manipulate or distort the conversation, such as in appeals to fear or guilt? For example, when someone says, "You never listen to me," a critical thinker will not simply accept this claim at face value, but will ask, "What specifically makes you feel that way? Can you give me an example?" This helps to clarify the issue and makes room for a productive conversation instead of emotional escalation. Recognizing manipulative behavior and protecting yourself. In some relationships, people may use manipulative tactics to control or influence others. These behaviors can often go unnoticed, especially if the manipulator is skilled at using guilt, charm, or emotional appeals. Critical thinking helps you recognize manipulative behavior and resist it. 1. Common manipulative tactics. Gaslighting. This is a tactic in which a person tries to make you question your own reality or perceptions. A manipulative individual might say, "You're just imagining things," or, "You're too sensitive," which causes you to doubt your judgment and second-guess your experiences. Guilt tripping. Another common manipulative tactic is making someone feel guilty or responsible for another person's feelings. Statements like, "If you really cared about me, you would do this for me," or, "You always let me down," are designed to play on feelings of obligation. Blame shifting. Manipulators often deflect responsibility by blaming others. They avoid accountability for their actions by saying things like, "I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't provoked me," or, "It's your fault that things went wrong." Withholding affection or approval. In some relationships, one person may withhold love, support, or validation to gain power over the other person. They may say things like, "I'll stop being affectionate until you do what I want." 2. How to recognize manipulation. Trust your instincts. Manipulation often feels wrong in a deep, intuitive way. If something feels off or if you feel compelled to act against your own best interest, that's a red flag. Look for patterns. Manipulators tend to use the same tactics repeatedly. If someone consistently tries to make you feel guilty or question your own perceptions, it's a sign that manipulation is at play. Be cautious of emotional blackmail. Watch for when emotions are used to manipulate you into doing something you wouldn't normally do. Emotional blackmailers may exploit your fears, insecurities, or love to get their way. 3. Protecting yourself. Once you recognize manipulative behavior, you need to protect yourself from its influence. Set clear boundaries. Establish boundaries that safeguard your emotional and mental well-being. For example, if someone tries to gaslight you, calmly assert your version of events and maintain your perspective. Stay grounded in reality. Remind yourself that your feelings and perceptions are valid. Resist being drawn into emotional debates that make you question your own judgment. Avoid engaging in power struggles. Manipulators thrive on conflict. Instead of being dragged into an argument, disengage respectfully and protect your peace. Critical thinking allows you to detach from emotional manipulation, evaluate the behavior objectively, and respond in a way that preserves your integrity. Making better relationship decisions using logic and empathy. Every relationship requires decision-making. Whether deciding where to spend the holidays, how to manage finances, or even choosing whether to continue the relationship, making good decisions is crucial. Critical thinking combined with empathy can help you make decisions that are fair, rational, and aligned with your values. 1. Using logic to make decisions. Logical thinking in relationships requires analyzing the situation objectively, considering the facts, and weighing the consequences of different options. This includes clarifying your values. What matters most to you in the relationship? What do you need, and what are you willing to compromise on? Make decisions based on your core values rather than momentary emotions or external pressures. Considering both short and long-term effects, how will your decision affect the relationship over time? Will it strengthen the bond or create resentment? Evaluate both immediate and long-term outcomes of any decision. Weighing alternatives. Think through different options and what each one entails. What are the pros and cons of each course of action? Sometimes, making a decision means accepting a certain level of discomfort or trade-offs. 2. Using empathy to make decisions. Empathy allows you to understand the other person's perspective, which is essential when making decisions that affect both parties. It doesn't mean you always have to agree, but it helps you see things through their eyes and take their feelings into account. Validate the other person's feelings, acknowledge their emotions, and let them know you understand their point of view. For example, "I can see how important this is to you, and I want to find a way that works for both of us. Balance your needs and theirs, strive for decisions that are mutually beneficial. Compromise where necessary but ensure that both your needs are met. A decision that benefits both people strengthens the relationship. Check for biases. Empathy helps prevent your own biases from skewing your judgment. Be aware of your assumptions and how they might influence your decision-making. Navigating conflict with rationality and calm. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship. However, how you approach conflict can make all the difference in resolving it constructively. Critical thinking allows you to navigate conflict with calmness and logic, rather than letting emotions drive you into reactive, unproductive arguments. 1. De-escalating conflict. When tempers flare, it's easy for communication to break down. Critical thinking helps you maintain composure and avoid escalation. Take a timeout if necessary. If the conversation is getting heated, step away to cool down before continuing. Sometimes, a brief pause is all it takes to return to the discussion with a clearer head. Use I statements. Avoid blaming language, such as, you always, or, you never. Instead, focus on your own feelings and experiences, such as, I feel upset when this happens, which prevents the other person from becoming defensive. Focus on the issue, not the person. Make sure the conflict is about resolving a specific issue, not about attacking the character of the other person. This can help keep the conversation productive and avoid unnecessary emotional hurt. 2. Finding common ground. In conflict resolution, the goal isn't necessarily to win, but to find a mutually acceptable solution. Critical thinking can help you recognize areas of agreement and work together to create a solution that benefits both parties. Seek areas of agreement. Start by acknowledging what you both agree on, no matter how small. This helps establish a sense of cooperation. Propose win-win solutions. Frame your suggestions as solutions that work for everyone involved, not just for one side. Practice exercise, resolving a disagreement using critical thinking. Think of a recent disagreement or conflict you had with someone close to you. Apply the following steps to resolve it using critical thinking. Define the problem clearly. What is the exact issue that led to the conflict? Gather evidence. What facts, perspectives, and emotions are involved in the conflict? Analyze the argument. Are there logical fallacies or assumptions that need to be addressed? Propose solutions. What are the possible solutions that would satisfy both parties? Conclusion. Critical thinking isn't just for academic or professional environments, it is equally valuable in personal relationships. By applying logic, reason, and empathy to your communication, recognizing manipulative tactics, and making decisions based on both critical analysis and understanding, you can foster healthier, more harmonious relationships. Conflict resolution becomes more manageable, and your ability to navigate even the most challenging situations improves. Ultimately, by using critical thinking in your relationships, you build deeper connections, trust, and mutual respect. Remember, relationships thrive when both people feel heard, understood, and valued. Critical thinking gives you the tools to achieve this and more. Chapter 9. Mastering critical thinking in the workplace. In the fast-paced, high-stakes environment of the modern workplace, the ability to think critically is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Whether you're a leader, manager, team member, or entrepreneur, your success hinges on your ability to solve problems, make decisions, communicate effectively, and adapt to challenges with clarity and precision. Critical thinking enables you to cut through complexity, avoid pitfalls, and harness opportunities that others might miss. This chapter will explore how to apply critical thinking in the workplace to enhance your career, improve decision-making, foster better communication, and excel in high-pressure situations. By developing and honing your critical thinking skills, you can become a more effective, persuasive, and influential professional. How critical thinking can skyrocket your career. In today's competitive job market, possessing strong critical thinking skills sets you apart. Critical thinkers are viewed as problem solvers, innovators, and reliable decision makers, qualities that employers deeply value. Whether you're just starting out or are already a seasoned professional, critical thinking can help you rise above your peers and climb the career ladder. 1. Identifying opportunities for innovation. Critical thinking fosters creativity and innovation. In the workplace, it allows you to spot inefficiencies, Critical thinkers can spot inefficiencies in workflows, systems, or processes that others may overlook. Whether it's an outdated procedure or a bottleneck in communication, recognizing these opportunities for improvement can lead to significant career advancement. Generate new ideas. A critical thinker doesn't just accept the status quo, they question it. By asking questions like, why do we do it this way? Or, what if we tried something different? You create space for innovation that can give your team or company a competitive edge. Adapt to change. The workplace is constantly evolving, with new technologies, processes, and challenges emerging regularly. Critical thinking helps you adapt to these changes quickly, giving you the ability to respond with logic and reason rather than fear or resistance. 2. Making smarter career decisions. Career growth requires making smart decisions about your professional path, such as choosing the right projects to take on, determining whether to switch jobs or industries, or deciding when to pursue further education. Critical thinking helps you assess risk and reward. Every career decision carries risks and rewards. By using critical thinking frameworks, you can weigh the potential benefits against the possible drawbacks, helping you make informed choices that align with your long-term goals. Clarify your goals. Understanding what you truly want out of your career is critical for making smart decisions. Critical thinking helps you assess your skills, interests, values, and opportunities to determine the best path forward. Evaluate options. When faced with multiple career opportunities or offers, critical thinking allows you to objectively compare them. Consider factors such as job stability, growth potential, work-life balance, compensation, and alignment with your personal values. Critical thinking isn't just about making decisions in the short term, it's about preparing for the future by consistently thinking ahead and asking the right questions. Making smarter business decisions. Whether you're managing a team, leading a department, or running your own business, decision-making is central to your role. The ability to think critically gives you a powerful tool to evaluate your options and make choices that lead to success. 1. Analyzing data and evidence. In the workplace, decisions are often made based on data, whether that's financial reports, customer feedback, performance metrics, or market trends. Critical thinking allows you to interpret data effectively, rather than taking data at face value. Critical thinkers ask, what does this data really tell me? They look for patterns, correlations, and anomalies that others may miss. They also question the assumptions behind the data, such as whether it's up to date or biased in some way. Distinguish correlation from causation. One of the key skills in critical thinking is the ability to recognize that correlation does not imply causation. Just because two events occur simultaneously doesn't mean one caused the other. Critical thinkers seek to understand the underlying causes before making decisions. 2. Evaluating business risks. Business decisions often come with risks. Critical thinking helps you evaluate and manage those risks by considering what is at stake. A critical thinker will evaluate the potential consequences of each decision. What will happen if the decision succeeds? What if it fails? This helps to determine whether the risk is worth taking. Identifying alternatives. Critical thinkers don't just stick to one course of action. They assess various alternatives, looking for ways to reduce risk while still pursuing the desired outcome. 3. Balancing short-term and long-term goals. In business, it's easy to get caught up in short-term results at the expense of long-term strategy. Critical thinking helps you balance both by considering the long-term implications. Critical thinkers evaluate decisions not just for immediate outcomes, but for their future effects. How will this decision impact the business 6 months, 1 year, or 5 years from now? Avoiding cognitive biases. Business decisions are often clouded by biases such as short-termism or the availability heuristic, relying too heavily on recent information. Critical thinkers recognize these biases and take steps to counteract them. In short, critical thinking ensures that your business decisions are based on logic, evidence, and a careful evaluation of both risks and opportunities, rather than gut feelings or surface-level impressions. Communicating effectively with colleagues and clients. Effective communication is one of the most important skills in the workplace, and it relies heavily on critical thinking. Whether you're presenting an idea to your team, negotiating with clients, or providing feedback to colleagues, how you communicate can make or break a situation. 1. Building clear and persuasive arguments. In the workplace, you often need to persuade others to adopt your ideas, whether you're pitching a new project, explaining a decision, or presenting a proposal. Critical thinking helps you structure your message logically, present your ideas in a clear, structured way. Use logical arguments supported by evidence. This helps you build credibility and persuades others that your viewpoint is sound. Anticipate objections. A critical thinker considers possible objections and prepares responses. By anticipating counterarguments, you can address them proactively, strengthening your position. Clarify your message. Often, workplace communication breaks down because messages are unclear. A critical thinker asks, "Am I being as clear as possible? Are my points easy to follow? Is there any ambiguity that could lead to misunderstanding?" 2. Active listening and understanding. Effective communication is a two-way street. Critical thinking involves not only presenting your ideas, but also listening actively and interpreting others' ideas with clarity. Listen without judgment. Active listening involves hearing the other person's viewpoint without immediately dismissing it. A critical thinker is open to other perspectives, even if they differ from their own. Clarify and verify understanding. Asking clarifying questions and summarizing what the other person has said ensures that both parties are on the same page. For example, "So what you're saying is that right?" 3. Navigating difficult conversations. In the workplace, difficult conversations are inevitable. Whether you're addressing a performance issue with an employee or negotiating a challenging client contract, critical thinking helps you manage these conversations effectively. Stay calm and objective. Emotional responses can derail a conversation, especially when tensions are high. Critical thinking helps you stay calm, focusing on the facts and the desired outcome rather than reacting emotionally. Use empathy to understand perspectives. Critical thinking isn't just about logic, it's about understanding. By empathizing with others, you can better understand their concerns and address them in a thoughtful, constructive manner. Problem solving in high-pressure situations. High-pressure situations are common in the workplace, whether you're dealing with a looming deadline, a crisis situation, or a complex problem that needs an immediate solution. Critical thinking allows you to approach these challenges with confidence, clarity, and composure. 1. Breaking down complex problems. When faced with a high-pressure problem, the tendency is to react impulsively. Critical thinking, however, helps you break down complex issues into manageable components. Define the problem clearly. Often, the first step to solving a problem is understanding exactly what the problem is. Take time to define the issue clearly, making sure you understand its scope and the factors involved. Analyze the root cause, rather than jumping to conclusions. Critical thinkers ask questions like, "Why did this happen?" or "What is the underlying cause of this issue?" This allows you to focus on finding a solution that addresses the root cause, not just the symptoms. 2. Developing actionable solutions. Critical thinking helps you develop solutions that are logical and feasible. Generate multiple options, instead of settling on the first solution that comes to mind. Critical thinkers generate multiple options, evaluating the pros and cons of each. Evaluate the feasibility of each option. Consider the resources, time, and people involved. Which solution is realistic, given the constraints? 3. Making quick, rational decisions. In high-pressure situations, decisions need to be made quickly. Critical thinking helps you make rational decisions even when time is limited. Weigh the risks, quickly assess the potential risks and rewards of each option. What is the worst-case scenario, and how can you mitigate it? Trust your reasoning. Stay focused on the logic and evidence rather than being swayed by panic or emotion. Trusting your critical thinking process ensures that you make the best decision under pressure. Practice exercise, critical thinking in the workplace. Think of a recent situation in your workplace that required you to make a significant decision, solve a complex problem, or communicate effectively with colleagues. Apply the following steps to analyze the situation and improve your approach. Define the problem. What was the core issue that needed to be addressed? Gather evidence. What data, feedback, or input did you have available? Analyze your options. What were the possible solutions, and what were their risks and rewards? Evaluate your communication. How did you communicate with others involved, and could you have communicated more effectively? Reflect on your decision. Was your decision based on critical thinking, or were emotions, assumptions, or biases influencing it? Conclusion: critical thinking is a cornerstone of success in the workplace. By applying logic, reason, and evidence to your decisions, communication, and problem solving, you can navigate challenges more effectively and position yourself as an influential and valuable professional. Critical thinking helps you to think strategically, communicate persuasively, and adapt to the ever-changing demands of the modern workplace. Mastering these skills is essential for anyone who wishes to advance in their career and make smarter, more impactful decisions. Chapter 10: The Continuous Journey of Mastery. Critical thinking is a skill, not a trait. It can be learned, honed, and perfected through practice and patience. In Chapter 1, we explored the essential importance of critical thinking, and throughout this book, we have developed a comprehensive toolkit of strategies to sharpen your reasoning and decision-making skills. But while this journey towards mastery is foundational, it's far from finished when you close the last page of this book. Critical thinking, in its truest form, is a continuous process, a lifelong commitment to improvement, curiosity, and intellectual rigor. As you embark on your path toward mastering critical thinking, it is essential to understand that it is not a destination, but a journey. This final chapter will help you understand the nature of this ongoing process, and provide you with strategies to cultivate and refine critical thinking skills throughout your life. Whether you're just beginning, or already well on your way, the key to long-term mastery is a consistent, deliberate practice. Let's dive deeper into the strategies and mindsets that will keep you on the path of continuous improvement. Why critical thinking is a lifelong skill. Unlike specific technical skills that can be learned and applied in one-off scenarios, critical thinking is dynamic and ever-evolving. As you progress through life and your career, the complexities of the world grow, and the decisions you face become more nuanced. Critical thinking adapts to the changing landscape of knowledge, challenges, and experiences. 1. The infinite scope of critical thinking. Critical thinking is not just useful in specific areas of life, it applies to virtually every aspect of your existence. From understanding global issues to making personal financial decisions, it is a tool for continuous growth. By sharpening your mind, it not only helps you succeed in professional environments, but also enables you to live a more reflective, intentional life. 2. Adapting to an ever-changing world. In the modern world, new information, challenges, and perspectives emerge constantly. The rise of new technologies, shifting social dynamics, and evolving global issues require constant adaptation. Critical thinking is essential for keeping pace with change, whether it's the introduction of new technology or shifts in political or economic systems. Critical thinking allows you to analyze these changes critically, rather than reacting impulsively or passively. Navigating complexity. The world is increasingly interconnected, and the issues we face are often multifaceted. Critical thinking helps you make sense of complex problems, seeing connections between ideas and considering long-term consequences. Because these challenges are ever-evolving, your ability to think critically must evolve as well. A growth mindset, where you view challenges as opportunities to expand your thinking, will help you continually refine your critical thinking skills. Strategies for constant improvement and practice. Mastery of critical thinking requires consistent practice, feedback, and reflection. Just as an athlete continuously refines their technique, a critical thinker must continually apply their skills in new contexts, assess their progress, and adjust their approach. Below are several strategies that can help you maintain and improve your critical thinking skills over time. 1. Commit to daily reflection. A critical thinker doesn't just act, they reflect. To improve your thinking, set aside time each day or week to assess your decisions, thought processes, and reasoning. Ask yourself, did I think critically about the situation? What assumptions did I make, and were they justified? Were there alternative perspectives or solutions I missed? How did my emotions or biases influence my decision-making? This reflective process helps you become more self-aware and allows you to spot patterns in your thinking that may need adjustment. 2. Engage in regular mental exercises. To keep your critical thinking muscles sharp, you need to exercise them regularly. Some effective mental exercises include puzzles and games. Engage in puzzles, crosswords, strategy games, or logic problems. These activities stimulate your brain and train you to think systematically and analytically. Debates and discussions. Engage in conversations where opposing viewpoints are explored. Challenging yourself to articulate and defend your arguments, as well as considering counterarguments, will improve your ability to reason clearly and logically. Mind mapping. Use mind maps to organize and analyze complex topics. This technique helps you visualize connections, see the bigger picture, and identify logical structures in your thinking. 3. Read widely and deeply. The broader your knowledge base, the more effective your critical thinking will be. Make it a habit to read extensively across diverse subjects. Books on philosophy, science, history, psychology, and the arts will expose you to different ways of thinking, providing you with new frameworks for analyzing situations and problems. Additionally, read content that challenges your assumptions. If you primarily read sources that align with your views, you limit your ability to think critically. Seeking out material that provides alternative perspectives encourages cognitive flexibility and helps you develop a more rounded, objective viewpoint. 4. Practice critical thinking in everyday life. While intellectual exercises and reflection are important, the real power of critical thinking emerges when you apply it to real-life situations. In every aspect of your daily routine, at work, in relationships, when consuming news, or making personal decisions, ask yourself, what is the evidence behind this information? What are the assumptions being made? What biases might be at play here, and how can I overcome them? What are the potential risks and rewards of this decision? By practicing critical thinking consistently, you will gradually build a habit of thoughtful reflection, which will help you navigate life more effectively. 5. Seek feedback and constructive criticism. Another key to improving critical thinking is soliciting feedback from others. Ask colleagues, mentors, or friends to give you feedback on your arguments, decision-making processes, or communication skills. Constructive criticism will help you spot areas for improvement and refine your reasoning over time. Cultivating an open and critical mindset. In order to continuously improve as a critical thinker, it is crucial to cultivate an open mindset. This doesn't mean accepting every idea or opinion as valid, but rather approaching each new perspective with curiosity and skepticism. 1. Embrace cognitive dissonance. One of the most powerful tools for growth in critical thinking is cognitive dissonance, the discomfort that arises when new information challenges your existing beliefs or assumptions. Instead of rejecting this discomfort, embrace it as an opportunity to learn and evolve. When faced with cognitive dissonance, question your beliefs, ask why you hold certain beliefs, and whether they are still justified in light of new evidence. Seek out information, look for reliable sources and diverse viewpoints that may either confirm or challenge your perspective. Be open to changing your mind. Critical thinkers understand that changing your mind based on new evidence is a sign of growth, not weakness. 2. Foster intellectual humility. Intellectual humility is the recognition that you don't have all the answers. It involves acknowledging the limits of your knowledge and being willing to learn from others. This mindset is critical for growth because it encourages you to listen, engage with diverse viewpoints, and adjust your thinking when necessary. 3. Avoid the trap of confirmation bias. Confirmation bias, the tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information that confirms your pre-existing beliefs, can severely hinder your growth as a critical thinker. To avoid this bias, seek out opposing viewpoints, intentionally seek out information that challenges your assumptions. Question your initial reactions. When something fits your beliefs too perfectly, take a step back and ask yourself if you're missing other factors or alternative explanations. Building habits to enhance your thinking every day. Critical thinking, like any other skill, is most effective when it becomes a part of your daily routine. By integrating these habits into your life, you ensure that critical thinking is a constant and ever-present force in your decision-making, problem-solving, and overall worldview. 1. Start your day with reflection. Before jumping into the busyness of your day, take a few moments to reflect. What are the important tasks or decisions you need to make today? What problems might arise, and how can you approach them with critical thinking? 2. Practice thoughtful decision making. Throughout your day, take time to pause before making decisions. Whether it's choosing what to eat, responding to an email, or planning your workday, take a moment to consider the factors at play and the potential consequences of your choices. 3. Engage with thought-provoking content. Make a habit of consuming content that encourages critical thinking, whether it's podcasts, documentaries, or articles on complex issues. By regularly engaging with thought-provoking material, you'll stay sharp and expose yourself to new ideas. 4. Set time for introspection. Regularly check in with yourself to see if you're falling into cognitive traps or repeating unexamined patterns of thinking. Set aside time weekly or monthly to analyze your decisions, reflect on your reasoning, and identify areas for growth. How to teach critical thinking to others. Mastering critical thinking is a personal journey, but sharing your skills with others can amplify the impact. Whether you're a manager, a teacher, a parent, or simply a mentor, teaching others to think critically can help create a culture of reasoned decision-making. Here are some strategies for teaching critical thinking to others. 1. Model critical thinking. Be a role model of critical thinking. Demonstrate the thought processes you use when making decisions or solving problems. Show others how to ask the right questions, challenge assumptions, and weigh evidence. 2. Create opportunities for practice. Provide opportunities for others to practice critical thinking. This could involve discussing case studies, engaging in debates, or solving problems together. The more practice someone gets, the more comfortable they will become with the process. 3. Encourage curiosity. Help others develop a sense of curiosity. Encourage them to ask questions and seek deeper understanding rather than accepting things at face value. The more curious they become, the more they will engage in critical thinking. Conclusion: a lifelong pursuit of mastery. Critical thinking is an ongoing journey of growth, reflection, and refinement. By embracing it as a continuous skill to be honed over time, you ensure that you are not only prepared for the challenges of today but also equipped for the uncertainties of tomorrow. The tools and strategies in this book are just the beginning. Your lifelong commitment to critical thinking will unlock your potential to solve problems, make informed decisions, and engage with the world in a meaningful way. Now, it's your turn to carry forward the lessons learned, continually pushing yourself to think sharper, reason more effectively, and apply your critical thinking skills to every area of your life. Welcome to the lifelong journey of critical thinking mastery.